It is very exciting to have Congressman Sean Casten here today on his launch day for the Chicago Convention in his home state of Illinois and very close to his home district. Congressman Casten has spent his entire adult life fighting the climate crisis, and it continues to be his top priority in Congress. He combines his experience running clean energy companies with his background as a scientist. It's good, school teachers, scientists. It's good to get that kind of diverse background into Congress, right? Congressman Casten is vice chair of the Sustainable Energy Environment Coalition, a group of more than 50 members of Congress who are committed to protecting our environment, combating climate change, and growing domestic investment in clean energy. Congressman, thank you so much for hosting us in your city, and thank you for being here today. Sorry.
Those slides are all really good.
There we go. They are.
All right. Thank you so much. Welcome to Chicago. Thanks to everybody from Chicago who's here. So I want to start, just be a little heavy, but be a little honest too. Don't move, but we're putting you all in a time machine. We're going to go back 29 years and a month because that was the 1995 heat wave in Chicago. It was what in my memory was the first real thing that was described by the media as a climate crisis. Stated about 100 degrees for a week in Chicago, 740 people died, heavily concentrated in the elderly. Some bodies weren't found until weeks later. It was a horrible event, 1995. 50% of all the CO2 that humanity has ever emitted as a species since we first invented fire hundreds of thousands of years ago has been emitted since 1995. These are like real numbers, right? We can politicize this, but these are real numbers. And they're the kind of numbers that you can completely lose hope unless you're a Democrat and you get to work. I was going to say something else there. Because what Kathy said in Illinois since then, we've largely gotten rid of our coal industry. We've moved to one of the leaders in wind in the country. We've passed rules to make our homes safer. And in Washington, as Kathy mentioned, Kathy has a higher batting average than any other member of Congress. Name any other member of Congress who came up with 700 policy recommendations and 300 became law 2 years later. That does not happen without Kathy Casten. Kathy Casten does not get that job if Nancy Pelosi is not the speaker, which means it doesn't happen unless we have the House. If you elect Democrats, good things happen. Once we pass those laws, the Inflation Reduction Act, which I would remind you, not a single Republican voted for. Since that was passed, we've invested over $400 billion of private money in the United States in clean energy facilities, manufacturing facilities, power plants, EV charging stations. We've cut energy costs for Americans because if you don't have to pay for oil, if you don't have to pay for gas, if you don't have to pay for electricity because you've got a solar panel and an EV in your driveway and a well-insulated home, inflation's going down and you're a pretty happy person because you got more money in your pocket, right? We've also put ourselves on a track to lower emissions by 40% over the next decade. But more importantly, we've created hope, right? That the idea that these massive climate changes are unsolvable, it can be paralyzing. But the idea that you elect good people who pass good policies and all of a sudden you're on a trajectory to change, to leave the planet better for your kids, to be back in a leadership position for the rest of the world, that doesn't happen unless we elect Democrats. It doesn't happen without the leadership of Joe Biden. And we're not done. Because by electing good people, we've created good problems. We're building manufacturing in the United States faster than we're growing the workforce, and we got to train the workforce and get them skilled. That in turn is creating more demands for electricity. We're having to build more power plants and more wires and get them permitted. These are really, really good problems. When people say we have an immigration crisis, you know what we have? We have a country that people want to come to and work because we have good jobs. Isn't that better than the alternative, right? All of that happens because we elected good people, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to continue that trajectory, put them in the White House, put Democrats in power in the House, put the Republicans at the little kids table where they can talk about sharks and electric vehicles and wind turbine cancer all day because the adults got stuff to do. Thank you. Go get them.